Alright, guys, today I'm going to review The Emperor of All Maladies, a biography of cancer by Siddhartha Mukherjee. So, this is a really popular book. If you've ever tried to buy a nonfiction book online or on Amazon, this book has probably been recommended to you. It's always been a bestseller, might still be a bestseller, I don't know. But it was a very popular book. It came out in 2010 originally, and I saw it all over the place, but I didn't get around to reading the book until 2015. So, well, maybe it's like 3.5 years ago, the first time I read it. And the biggest surprise about this book wasn't that the book was good. The book's definitely good, but it had a ton of good reviews. It won a bunch of awards, I think. I mean, it was everywhere, so I assumed it was a pretty good book. But that's not the most surprising thing. The most surprising thing was that I remember everything about this book. Even 3.5 years after I read it the first time, I remembered all the little details, all the little stories. I mean, so much of this book. I tried to think of why I remembered the book, and I think it comes down to just how emotionally invested you become in this book. Nonfiction books often struggle to bring a reader in and get them emotionally invested in the material. Most of the time, it's your curiosity that drives you through a nonfiction book. You just desire to learn the subject matter. And so you just read the book and you pick up all these facts and then you kind of add them to your base of knowledge and you move on. But you don't really remember the format or the vessel for that knowledge. But this book is very different. You remember everything about this book because cancer is inherently compelling. A huge part of this book is science, but in order to do the science, the scientists have to do experiments. They have to have hypotheses and they have to run the experiment and then they'll fail, then they'll go back and they'll try something else. And to do an experiment with cancer, you really need a cancer patient. And so whenever you're doing any kind of experiment, it's very compelling because there's someone's life on the line. The author does a good job of just telling you what's happening to that patient. They don't hit you over the head with all the emotional stuff, but just understanding what's happening is enough to bring you in and really put you in the shoes of a person. And so when they're doing the science, you're very invested in it. And so when it succeeds, when it doesn't succeed, there's a big emotional payoff for all those experiments and all those little tests that they do. And when there's a big breakthrough, you really feel the success. I mean, it has a big impact on you. You get an appreciation for how important that is. And as the story goes on, it continues to keep you invested because the nature of cancer, because it's your own body that's being warped and attacking you, it's really hard to cure. It's really hard to do things because differentiating between a healthy cell and a cancerous cell is pretty difficult. And the book does a good job about going into all the different strategies and methods that people have used to try to solve this problem and how every time they think they've solved a problem, there's another problem to solve. And it's just this ongoing battle. You really come to appreciate the modern cures and treatments that we have for diseases, especially for cancer, through this book. So the book was really good. I know I'm talking a lot about the emotional stuff, but there's a lot of really great science in here as well. I think a lot of the big scientific developments will be common knowledge. The fact that we discovered that cancer cells are just normal cells that kind of mutated and went wrong and then become cancerous. Discovery of genetics and things like that. I think a lot of that is pretty common knowledge, but this book does a really good job about going through all the different attempts to cure cancer and do surgeries. And there's so many little battles that people faced over time, just trying to use what knowledge they had in the moment to cure people. And this book does a really great job about telling you all about that side of the story. And that's a side of the story I had never heard. So that was all new. So the book felt very fresh, even though cancer would seem to be something that everyone's pretty familiar with. I know it's a huge cultural disease. Everybody knows someone that's had cancer or died of cancer, or at least they had a friend that had a family member die of cancer. I mean, it's really touched a lot of people. So it was surprising to me that there was so much new information about the subject, though I guess I really didn't know too much about the history of cancer, especially the far history of cancer before like the 1950s or 1960s. But the book was very good. I would definitely recommend this book to anyone that's interested in reading about cancer, or maybe they know someone that has cancer or just got diagnosed. This book does a good job about giving you perspective about where we're at today with the disease. If you do read the book, just be prepared that the book is kind of dark. The author's not trying to be dark, but the subject matter is very dark. I mean, the experience of these cancer patients is very dire. Every time a scientist does an experiment on someone with cancer, they're pretty much doing an experiment where if it succeeds, they live, and if they fail, the person dies. And even if they succeed, maybe they only live for a little bit longer before they need another new treatment that doesn't exist, and then they die a little bit later. So it's kind of a dark subject matter, so be prepared for that if you're sensitive to that kind of thing. So I hope you guys like this video. I've got more videos coming soon, so like, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.